So, Chris, you were talking about fixing your AC.
Yeah,
What happened? Like, did they fix it?
yeah, looks like they did. There was a block in the drainage, so it was just like literally spitting water. Um, they
Oh, yeah, I've recalled those things. I do. Don't they have central ACs, air
um.
conditions in Thailand?
So what's the central AC unit?
Like, in a unit, like it's outside, or you control it.
Mm.
So it's like from the ceiling,
Yeah, yeah.
not
So I mean,
separate
the setup
units.
that we have is here. We have the part of the units on the wall here, and then it goes through a system
Oh.
of pipes back
Okay,
here,
so I'm
right?
talking about in the US. I see that. Yeah, in the US they have everything in one. Heating. It's called centralized AC. So every room gets the equal share of cold,
Yeah, yeah.
if that's something.
No.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's done only by three different separate units.
Okay.
And they have different outputs every unit. One
Okay.
this one in the main room is the most powerful. The one in the bedroom is like medium. The one in the small room is smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
of course we don't
Nice.
need
Nice.
heating.
So yeah, I mean we do need heating in the US right now, but I think we're cooling down. The temperature is going down a little bit, which is nice. We had some rain last weekend.
Mm.
Weird yesterday or Friday or something. Just poured and it just left.
Is that true that when it rains in Southern California, people freak out?
No, it's just they make it as big in SoCal that oh, it's gonna rain and they bring this bog. I mean, they just exaggerate it and then it stops in 2 days, in two
Right.
hours. So nothing big
They
happens.
should see the monsoon
But yeah.
season.
Oh yeah, talk me about it. So that's crazy. Uh, anyways, let's get to the show. So
And you wanna write it down. Would it kill you just to listen? And you wanna spell it out with the words like resistance. As they say, the brain you look down and we're straight. Don't see.
hello everyone, welcome back to Every Degree Matters. I'm your host Saffran Minhar. Today we got Christian as well, my co-host, and I hope you all doing great. And we wanted to do a special episode today, dedicating a good figure that I saw, Charlie Kirk, which unfortunately he was assassinated by a teenager. I don't say teenager. He's 22-year-old. No, they say right now it's a suspected shooter, but so sad. And we're gonna talk about Charlie and what has he done, what impact he has made in a lot of people in the country, especially building up Turning Point USA, and how the aftermath of what America is feeling, especially the conservative America, especially young people in America, because Charlie made a big impact going around in campuses and bravely talking to the people, and especially young people around the world, around the country. And for me, he was an inspiration. I always liked Charlie because I always watched all his podcasts or wherever he would appear, and he had this great theory that you prove me wrong. I really like it. So you debate him and you prove him wrong. So, and hope you guys saw the memorial yesterday. A lot of people, a lot of love. But we are here to talk about Charlie Kirk's legacy and what has that impacted, and how reactions has come from both side of the aisle, and how Americans are navigating through this grief period. Oh, and also on the other side, awakening call, what they should do. So we got here Chris. And Chris, what was your initial reaction when you heard about it? Where were you? I can say where was I? I was driving to have lunch with my buddy who flew in to for my birthday weekend, and it was we were driving, and then we got a text from my friend saying he has been shot. And it was before the news was there because we know people inside, and they were like, "Hey, he's been shot." I'm like, "What the hell?" And then we saw, and then news started coming on X, and I was like, "Oh man, that was," and it was. I remember exactly where I was. So, and where were you when you heard about it? what was your initial reaction?
Right.
I didn't believe it in. I mean, I didn't believe it in the beginning, but then again, when I saw the video, oh man, and it was the way the shootout was. Couple images were coming, and it was a kill shot. So it was so sad. But where were you?
I don't remember specifically, but I remember the first time I saw the news was on another political commentator who I follow on Instagram. I forgot his name, but he's on the left rather than the right. And he was at
Hmm.
the same event, and I just remember him doing like a post, and he was like running away, and he's like, "Oh my god, I heard Charlie got shot," and I'm like, "Who's Charlie?" Because actually, but I never really knew much about Charlie Kirk before this.
That's interesting.
And I'm quite surprised I didn't because obviously he was very prominent. So I think I was at work, I think, when I heard about it later. It was when I saw, like, the news. I'm like, "Okay, Charlie Kirk, okay, that's who that is." Then I started to look into who he was a bit more, and then I kind of jogged my memory, like, "I've seen this guy around, yeah, like, on a few things here and there." And he never really stood out to me as being something, like, really awful, like some people were making him out to be, and I went back and watched some of his other stuff. And yeah, I mean, I don't think he was as extreme as people are making him out to be. I mean, I do disagree with some of his viewpoints, but there is definitely something to be said about the style in which he, you know, of his debates, right? He was definitely open. Um, but yeah, no, I just my original reaction was just kind of upset in general about the incident, but also about what this means, for our country and the kind of increasing, this increasing trend of political violence. Um, it's something, I just find profoundly disturbing. And you can say, what you want about Charlie Kirk's politics. You don't have to agree with him, but he was murdered, and he was murdered for
Yeah.
his political beliefs and for his freedom of speech. And that's a problem for whether or not you're on the right or the left. That's an issue for everyone. That's like fundamental in the United States is that you should be able to express yourself peacefully without being harassed, assaulted, or killed. So it's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous precedent. And I'm also concerned about the aftermath because now I'm seeing people are using this as an excuse to, clamp down on opposition, for example. Labeling anyone that says something in regard to Charlie Kirk's assassination that's insensitive as being akin to, a murderer. So it's now becoming a political tool. So none of this is really good for our democracy.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, I was really sad, man. I think I called, I think I spoke to you. I was so upset, and I loved this guy. I never met him, never know him. Like, personally, I don't know him, but the way he was a perfect, I like debates, a perfect debater. He would always argue. He always wish good to the opposite side, and he was always to the point, like prove me wrong. And the famous um words that Charlie always recalled is that without free speech, there is no such thing as truth. He always says that, and then he says that the moment you silence the opposing voice, is you destroy the fundamental of democracy. So that's the moment you shut down. So as you said, when people like can't express freely what they want to express, and they're now being shut down by this crazy guy who apparently so much things that's going around. And he was a great, I mean, the crazy part is that he wasn't inciting violence. He was just talking to the point, and he was just arguing with people with words. And he always loved Jesus. The other big thing I really liked about Charlie Kirk was he was promoting faith. A lot of people in this country needed faith, and Christianity was growing, and people were going back to churches. I really liked it. I don't share the same religion, but I really liked people were being on track, because I felt in the last decade or so, this country was navigating towards more evil than towards more good. And I felt like he was a voice of letting people know what's meant to be a human, what's meant to be believing in God and having faith and going to church on Sundays, having a family. He always talks about get married, have kids. If you can do all those things, that's what values are. That's what being a human is. It just breaks my nerve, like when I see when I look back and say he's gone, and like he was like a big proponent of promoting that, being family together, helping each other, especially growing your kids, being there as a father, as a mother, especially for young children like who were at colleges. He was going, talking to the people that they were going out, like when the bird nest is leaving the kid, the bird leaving the nest. At that point, where he goes and talks to all those people, and it's just so terrible. And then on the other side, also, when we look back, it's just, so what? People can't talk freely. Oh, is that what we're going to be scared? Or do we need gun laws? Do we need to open up mental asylum institutes back again? So much questions need to be answered. I felt like I love the First Amendment. I always say I love the Second Amendment. I feel like people need help. People need help in especially people need mental health help. I think we need to open back mental asylums, treat people, be care, like. And also I believe sometimes, Chris, and I don't think sometimes, I believe when you are more driven towards more faith, you always tend to be nice, you always tend to be kind, you get more of your kindness, which this world needs and people need in this world. So I felt like it's a big loss, and but I think a lot of people would learn. I feel like, what do you think, where do you see, what do you see? Because I love the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, but I'm saying, to overcome situations like this, do you think opening up back again mental health institutions, treating people, would also have bigger impact? Because President Reagan was the one who started closing up all those places back in the 80s or 70s when he became the president.
Yeah, I mean, the United States has a pretty significant mental health crisis. It's been there for a long time. And it's not something I don't think the United States has the resources to address if it decides to do so, and to do so systematically and with purpose, and with bipartisan support. Um, but yeah, no, I see that as a significant issue amongst many others. And I don't think it's going to be, the cure for everything. I mean, as long as you have a Second Amendment, there's going to be some issues there. As long as you have the First Amendment, there's
Because
going to be some issues there.
of course it doesn't
Right?
come freely.
No,
Freedom
but
of free
but
speech
and I think
is
that's
not
where a
free.
lot of the backlash. I think, well, I wouldn't say the backlash. A lot of the people who were not so empathetic to the murder of Charlie Kirk were citing that the famous kind of statement that he made about the casualties being acceptable for the Second Amendment, right? So the victims of gun violence are acceptable casualties to uphold the Second Amendment, and then he became, of course, a casualty in the middle of a discussion about gun violence, ironically, or perhaps
No, I
deliberately.
think it was about trans that discussion was when he was talking about transgender issues. It wasn't, I think, gun violence. It was about transgender question that I think he took the first question. But go
Regardless
ahead.
of what was actually in discussion when he was murdered, and to me that kind of
He
further
was assassinated.
emphasizes, yeah, he was assassinated, and that further emphasizes to me the fact that it isn't really acceptable to have these casualties. I think we've become too comfortable in American society to accept these casualties, particularly when it affects people like children. So while I am not fundamentally in opposition to the Second Amendment, there clearly needs to be greater restrictions, and then also that has to be paired with things that are like more holistic, like the health of society. Because people say, like, guns don't kill people, people kill people, and that's a big criticism of the left, is that they say that's nonsense. But in effect, it's true. I mean, You can have perfectly responsible gun owners with sound minds, and they're not going to do anything. A large part of the issue is that we have just people with mental health issues with way too easy access to weapons. So yeah,
Anything
I
could
think
be a
there's going to be
weapon.
trade-offs,
It's
but
like you
I
don't
think
need.
we don't have to accept this kind of level of a trade-off.
That's the thing I find it difficult because to understand that anything could be a weapon, a knife could be a weapon. So if anyone has this want to kill, it's just a tool. It's not something that because we have the guns people are going to kill another person. It's just the mentality. It's just I feel like a lot of things, social media, I feel like a lot of news agencies or fake news, like as I like to call it, and propaganda from, especially with the left, there always is sympathetic propaganda, because of the left. It's a very funny story I wanted to say. So yesterday when President Trump was speaking, he was like, um, saying that Charlie Kirk likes to call the left, but he likes to call the radical left lunatics, and it was hilarious. He was laughing, and it was fun. I think I also it meant because this is where I'm going to shift a little bit. Look at the aftermath when George Floyd died, and with the whole Black Lives Matter, it was chaotic. Streets got burned down. Jesus, talk to me about how streets were in LA, and there was so much of riots and looting and stuff like that. But now look at the reaction of the right. George Floyd was just an ordinary person. Look, the biggest conservative leader was assassinated on publicly, but there is nothing.
I think
People are
part
leading towards more faith. Maybe online rhetoric could be different. There is no real violence. There is no. That's the difference I see between the conservative
right.
right and the left. Like, imagine if it was someone in the left burned down, cops being
Right.
injured. Like,
So I don't
talk to me about it.
disagree in that I don't think people on the far left have appropriately expressed their grievances over the last decade or so. And
Thank you.
I I think also one of the major differences between George Floyd and Charlie Kirk was that George Floyd was killed by the state, in a sense, a law enforcement officer representing the government, the state, whereas Charlie Kirk was just assassinated by a insane individual. So I think there's a bit of a difference there. But also, I mean, I kind of understand what you're saying that, there's been a lot less of a tangible backlash from the right in response to Charlie Kirk's assassination, but there has been a response, and I don't think I like it. So, for example, someone had started this doxing, right? Posting people's personal information online so that they can be targeted. So someone started this doxing website in what they called quote unquote, like the biggest mass firing campaign. So they're trying to put together all these social media posts of people that said something bad about Charlie Kirk's death. So it ranges from things that were like really awful comments about his death, people like literally celebrating his death or advocating for it, which is clearly unacceptable. But then it also ranged to things that were just kind of like insensitive remarks, things that were probably not worth being fired over. So there's this kind of like big, public, doxing campaign labeling basically anyone who said anything remotely bad about the incident or insensitive about the incident is now a murderer, which is extremely
But
harsh
don't you
rhetoric.
think?
I mean, in that
Yeah, but don't
just
you?
sorry, 1 second, but like if we were to use that logic, right? Every joke that Family Guy ever makes about 9/11 would make them a terrorist. I know the timing isn't appropriate, but like you have
Yeah,
to have some level of freedom of speech, right?
you're right. But at the same time, I feel like the same thing happened during George Floyd as well. People got fired. There were people celebrating. So it's just that the level of rhetoric, which is you can't be perfect, right? Nobody is perfect. There's gonna be on both sides, which always happens, like as part of life. The right, you have people celebrating sometimes. On the left, you have, and there was also name calling each, like, asking, posting stuff. But then again, the level which I really wanted to see, the level of people got fired for COVID. People got fired. Don't get me dragged into COVID. COVID was a disaster. How much censorship happened? Where was freedom of speech? People didn't want, were not able to talk. People's web, what do you call, Twitter access were taken down. Facebook access was taken down. YouTube started blocking podcasts I was talking. So where was freedom of speech? Like,
Right.
the left doesn't
I see
have
your point.
the moral value to talk about it. If they have done the right thing on something, they could have talked to the American people, saying that, hey, listen, this is what it is, this is what it is. They censored a lot of people. I mean, right now maybe we can handpick people that got censored, but during COVID,
Right.
don't get me started.
So
That's just
yeah,
how the level of censorship was so brutal. People were scared to post, and then they went on even to take President Trump's, block him from Facebook, Twitter, everything. Like, where was freedom of speech? Where were the left when they were like, just right now, like a week ago when Jimmy got suspended, Jimmy Kimmel's show got suspended. Everyone was outraged and yada yada yada. And then where was the outrage when doctors were suspended from talking the truth to the American people? So
well,
that's
truth in this
the
case is
that
subjective.
Yes, but of you can, but no, but there are certain truth that we can accept it. I can accept it. Where were the why the truths were taken down? Why was it suppressed to promote vaccine? Why lockdowns were promoted? Did you see when they asked Fauci, how did you come up with the 6 feet? He talks about
Yep.
it. How did he come up with 6 feet distancing? He just said, "Oh, I thought about it and I just said it." That was how it started. Like, I was like,
I
wait,
mean, I'm
what?
sure there
Hold
was
on a
probably more
second.
to it than that, to be honest. But
No, no, no. There is no more. Not more. No, I'm not making it up. Go look it up.
yeah.
The congressional
Um,
hearing
but
for
I'm glad,
Fauci.
Saffron, that you brought up that point though about the left. So we have people saying like the right is getting a taste of their own medicine with the gun violence, right? But then we also have people saying, well, now the left is getting a taste of their own medicine with the censorship. And I kind of agree with that because takes cancel culture for example. I've never been a fan of cancel culture, and that was a real thing. People were afraid to express things that might be considered offensive or whatever for many years because they were afraid of being called out, by their friends or being called out or disowned by their families or networks or their office, their job, whatever. That was a real thing, and I think the left did a lot to bring that about, that this kind of
To
censorship,
fuel this, yeah.
and I've
To
never
get
been a
they
fan of that.
poured gasoline.
In
Yeah.
fact, like that's always one of the biggest resentments that I've had is that as someone who leans left, I felt that these people were not doing justice to my causes. Um, so I do totally agree with you. A lot of this has its origins. A lot of the censorship or the backlash to censorship has its origins with movements on the left. But regarding COVID, I mean, I think that was an exceptional case as it was an emergency situation. So that completely changes the dynamic when you're talking about public health crisis and emergency. So I think that was a little bit different. I think there's a case to be made that, like in for public safety and public health, I mean, there's a bit more of a case to be made in terms of censorship. Um, Maybe, I mean, I don't know the details so much because I wasn't trying to be so political at the time. So I mean, maybe there was excessive or too much. I don't know personally.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, with Jimmy Kimmel, I never liked Jimmy Kimmel, but I don't think the dude should have been fired and to have been pressured by the government to have him fired. That was also another dangerous. It's a dangerous precedent as well. So the assassination of Charlie Kirk is a dangerous precedent for expressing your opinions, and the firing of Jimmy Kimmel is a very dangerous precedent for media, saying if you don't align or conform with the government's view, we're going to pressure your network to can you. That's not good.
Yeah, you're right, and I think it's not the right thing that should do. It's just because the left did it doesn't make the right to do it. Doesn't make the wrong two wrongs one
Yeah.
right. Something there's a saying, right? So I feel like, especially with late night shows, I hate all of them. The only person I sometimes liked was Jimmy Fallon because he has some jokes around it. But the problem is that look at Johnny Carson or Jay Leno, which they were not. They were never talking about politics. And if they had to talk about politics, they always balanced it out. Right now, if you take all the late night shows, it's just one sided. Like I just hate them all. Like, why can't you be okay? Make some jokes on the left. Why are you going to hate 50% of your audience? That's why the rating is low, by the way. All these late night shows ratings are low. A lot of comedy, like stand up comedies or podcasts, like funny podcasts are kicking up. Like a lot of people are watching it. It feels like the left started to use the last 10 years or so all these late night shows for their own propaganda tools. Look at Stephen Colbert, look at Jimmy Kimmel, Seth Meyer, look at John Oliver. All episodes after episodes, every night they bash only one side. Why can't they talk about the other side? Or just because you're from the other side you can't talk? And there's, just famous saying Jay Leno says that I don't want to get it. No, nobody knew which where who Johnny Carson voted for. That's how they were. Like now you could know, oh, this guy voted for this. And Jimmy Kimmel has been so much trashing Trump. Not a single thing moment he stopped. He went ranting and ranting and ranting. I think the Second Amendment also says the First Amendment also says you can't promote hateful speech. There's limitations to it, right? So some of this rhetoric, what Jimmy, especially Jimmy Kimmel, would say, I even will be like, what the hell is this guy saying? It doesn't even make sense. So I feel like you're right. The cancel culture was brought by the left, and they always fueled it, poured gasoline on it every time. And during, if you look back in COVID, they took down. Here's the thing I really hate about COVID was that they took down the truth that the CDC had it. That's what like they didn't want to admit it was from China. They didn't want to admit it was from Wuhan lab. Like they went over and over. Now all these documents have been made public by the age Pam Bondi, so that people can see where they have said, "Don't put this, don't do this." Communications back and forth, like those are censorship, bro. Like, let's not go into vaccines, but these stuff to the masking or distancing or lockdowns, all these things could have been prevented, but Fauci is just walking freely around, and I feel like he should be accountable. So again, so going back, we might disagree, and I hear what you're saying regarding COVID and vaccine, but some stuff that has been they have been told and it has made public, which really makes me nervous or crazy, because when I see all this, it's just, you know, that's just bad. And they just see, comedy should be, to wrap up the things with Jimmy Kimmel, comedy should be comedy, not political. Crack jokes, maybe bring one or two political jokes, balance it both sides, and make people laugh. You are going home at 9 o'clock, trying to turn on the TV. You want some fun. You want to sit down with the family and watch it. You can't nowadays. If you turn on it, it's just either one side full trashing, especially on the left, trashing the right, and I'm like, this has to change. That's my
Yeah,
take on
I
it.
mean, I agree that, I think these shows were a little bit too political. I mean, I think comedy and politics are very intertwined. I mean, I think comedy is a great way to analyze politics. It's a great way to digest politics, to talk about it in a way that's lighter, to make light of something heavy. I think politics. I mean, satire is great. I mean, political satire can be great,
Yeah.
but it has to be
Yeah, of
balanced
course.
to an extent. Like you said, Jimmy Kimmel. That's the reason I never liked him, is because he was a one trick pony. All he did was bash Trump, and this is why I would prefer something with someone like John Oliver. While John Oliver is very one sided, at least he talks about a range of issues, and he brings to attention these kind of niche issues that I never even thought were problems. And I kind of appreciate that. I mean, I think he's very biased and one sided, but I do appreciate that he's at least using his platform to talk about many things. He's not, oh, his entire show isn't just based around bashing Trump. But Jimmy Kimmel was just
Yeah,
like,
that's
I couldn't stand it after a while. It was just like one Trump joke after another Trump joke. I was just like, come on, dude. Like,
every day when Trump was the president last, like he was just one after the other after, just anyway. All right, but the next thing I want to see is that Chris, how do you see the turning point? I look at Charlie Kirk's assassination and the whole last week as a turning point to the U.S. because a lot of things are going to change. Do you see? Let me get your thought on it, and then I can give my thought. Like, where do you see what's going to make change? Remember, he was talking to college kids. It was they were like they were trying to who's going to be the future leaders.
sorry, can you rephrase the question?
So I'm asking is that how do you see a U.S. after Charlie Kirk's assassination and Turning Point USA, the organization he started? What impact will it's going to make, especially in younger people? Because President Trump won in big margin within younger audience, and they are the future leaders, right? So how do you see? I feel like this could be the turning point for America.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is certainly something that's going to be part of American history. I think that's clear. You know, the how this swept, the headlines, not just the United States, but also abroad. I mean, people have been talking about it in Thailand. This is definitely a significant point in American history. Not just what happened, but when it happened and why it happened. In terms of turning
Yeah.
point, to be honest, like I said, I wasn't very familiar with Charlie Kirk or his organization before this. Like I had seen him on some Instagram stuff from time to time, so I'm not really sure. But I think how his organization itself wants to respond to this and set a leadership precedent. I think would be very important. So are they going to be vengeful and bitter, or are they going to continue promoting what Charlie Kirk was supposed to be promoting, like open dialogue? And I think this is one interesting thing I saw um, from his wife was, she said she forgave the shooter.
Yeah,
So I think that
that's
was yeah, that was interesting and powerful. So I think like how they as an organization want to handle this, I think could be important for setting a responsible and precedent going forward. But going forward, I am concerned. Like I said, I feel like this is being aggressively used by the Trump administration and the right to now clamp down on those that oppose them. Because now you can label everyone that opposes you or says something regarding this incident in a negative or insensitive light as a terrorist, a murderer, or whatever you want to call them. So I think this is an accelerant, right? So it
yeah.
kind of really forces us to acknowledge. People will say, "Oh, this is not American." Unfortunately, this is what we are. Let's stop pretending like it's not. And I think this is forcing us to really acknowledge that this is now becoming a country where political violence is an issue. I mean, Donald Trump was almost assassinated. Nancy Pelosi's family was attacked. There was the Democrat murdered, and it was in Minnesota. So
Yeah.
this is not like
I
it's
mean,
it's like I said, this is an issue for people on the left and the right, and I think this is kind of like the final nail in the coffin in terms of our reckoning. Like this is what we are. So we have to stop saying this is not American because it's not fundamental American values, but that's where we are now, and we've diverged from these values, and I think this is the reckoning, and I think we have a clear path forward. Either we be constructive or we be destructive. And I'm concerned that people are going to the destructive side instead of the
both
constructive.
side.
In terms of how they want to handle this. So, like I said, like I feel like it's going to be used for suppression. And
I feel like
it's establishes as precedent. Yeah, like it's no longer safe to publicly, you know, it's the final. Like I said, it's a reckoning. So now it really shows how
so
divided we are.
yeah, of course we are so much divided, and if you if we look back and see how that the rhetoric in both sides, especially name calling, shaming on both sides, and also this when they start to play ideological politics, that's where we lost. And America, I think America needs to unite, whether you're in the right or the left. We have to unite as Americans. They have to unite as Americans under one flag and saying, okay, it's okay to disagree. That's what Charlie always talks about. It's okay to be a right wing conservative. It's okay to be a left wing. It's okay to do things. It's okay. It's not like, oh, you're because you support Mega, you lose everything. Like I have lost a lot of friends, especially with this Israel Gaza problem. Talk to me. I'm serious, and my family members, it's just so impactful. Like I'm like, okay, so just because I can't, just because this is the I can't, I express my opinion that I like President Trump and what is he doing. Oh, America, they're like, oh, you should not be doing this. You shouldn't be. Just they don't want to hear what I wanted to say. So that's the problem that we have. I think we need hopefully President Trump and the next president in 2028 will be very, very crucial. A president that unites both sides. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to be like, oh, I'm for abortion. It's okay to be I'm not for abortion. That's what democracy is. It's all part of debating, coming to a conclusion. That's why on the Constitution it says we the people. It doesn't say I the people. It says we. When George Washington created it, he could have become a king. Why didn't he choose to become the king? He became the president. Why did he choose I want to be democratically elected? Because he believed in democracy. America is the longest serving democratic country in this world and successfully done 250 years next year. I think next year has to be a reckoning for everyone, whether you can be on the left or you can be on the right, just to unite. It's okay to disagree. Like the past, I know in the past, there's so much big players. Social media played a huge role in the last 10 years in terms of making Americans divide more and fueling all this rhetoric. I think I always thank Elon for buying Twitter, man. I'm telling you, imagine if it was old Twitter. Just imagine how much of censorship would have happened back and forth, both sides. And I feel like this should be the beginning of a new era where Americans are united and then where Americans love each other but disagree. That's what Charlie Kirk always wanted.
Yeah, I mean, the fundamental message there is good. I mean, there's those that would say that's not what he wanted, that he was masking, hateful rhetoric and destructive conversations under the guise or the disguise of open debate. I don't personally know because like I said, I didn't watch enough of his content. But there are people that say that. But fundamentally, yeah. I mean, and also I love how you said "we the people." We forget that, right? That very first opening line, "We the people,"
Yeah.
and
I always when I was in DC. I mean, I wasn't born in this country, but I love every inch of this constitution, every word of this constitution. I really like it, how it has been written, coming from a uh, you know uh, communist driven country, a crazy country, and looking, this is the best place to live. And in terms of Turning Point USA, I think Charlie Kirk's widow Erica Kirk got elected as the CEO. That was Charlie Kirk wanted, I think, when if he died. And I think they're going to drive this mission. I think they're going to be peaceful, and I feel they're going to be more stronger and they're going to expand. I don't see violence coming in. Thank God it's not on the left. Just making it, I'm just saying, and it would have been a chaotic America. And also, I feel like there are so much external force wants an un wants a civil war in this country. That's very scary. Lot of external countries don't want a peaceful
I
America.
would say
They don't
internally
want.
too.
internally too, but more of external influence as well.
Sure.
And that's a bigger problem because America is right now winning. Like I'm telling, a lot of times, some of them, I mean, you don't have to agree with President Trump, but some of the stuff that he's doing are really working. Some of the stuff could really be good. America is more respected. America is more seen in the world.
Okay.
And because the respected part, well, we can argue about it.
Yeah, I
What I'm
mean,
saying is that
sorry,
America
but
is
I'm just
so
just
bad.
from my position here abroad, I can at least in my circle, right, I can say that we're very much not respected at the moment. Like very
Well, because
much.
you are in a circle that does not like because they need the funding. So let's because a lot of funding has been cut. I know the circle. The circle is always money driven circle. So where there is more money, they will always like it.
Right.
When
But
there's
I
no
also
less
feel like
money,
in general the perception is like the United States is like this parody of itself at the moment.
what did you say? Disparity?
Like a parody of itself. Like it's its own satire essentially.
Okay.
Like we're Borating
Well,
ourselves.
yeah, but that's it's we are not faking it out. That's the thing I'm trying to say. We had a when Obama was the best liar. We have a president right now who doesn't, even if he's lying, he's saying the truth. That's the important thing I like
Wait.
about him.
Sorry. So even if he's lying, he's saying the truth.
No, he's even if let's okay, let me phrase it again. I can he he says that he's making shit up. Like on the other instant, he's like, oh, sometimes if it is, he says this right on one of the speeches. Like he says that if it is like 1 million or 2 million, I say millions and millions. I just try to exaggerate it. He's admitting it. Like I like that part of President Trump. That's what everybody's like that. Like, sometimes you exaggerate it, sometimes you make shit up. Like he tells that he does it. And that's why a lot of people were driven to him because he was honest liar. He wasn't a fake liar. He was like an honest liar and he always said the truth. And people can always say like, okay, and sometimes he exaggerate things. People know he's exaggerating it, but at the same time, you can see him like, boasting about it, and it's
Sure. Like
pretty
I see what you
open.
mean. He is transparent in that sense. Like he's not hard to
Yes,
read.
thank you.
But I think that's exactly the
Correct.
problem, right? If he is so transparent, that's where I don't understand the appeal because I see him for what he is and what he wants and I don't like it.
Why don't you like it to be transparent?
I I
You
I
don't
I,
like to have a president who is transparent?
I didn't say I didn't like that he's not transparent, but I don't like the person I see underneath the transparency.
Well, at least he's being honest. At least he's being open. Do you want a fake person, fake
I would
transparency?
prefer not none of them. Like
Okay, you can't. Come on, it's not like you get black or white. That's not the world we
no, it
live in
isn't.
today.
But
So
and yeah, but like is it preferable
he's
when
thinking,
he's like
guys.
when the person is bad? I don't know if it makes a difference, does it?
I don't think so. I don't think it makes a difference. I feel like uh, I learned it from Obama. The the best. He was the perfect liar, and he told the lie as a truth,
He
and
was
that was
very presidential. I think that that hid a
in
lot of
lying,
his, you
in
know,
lying.
policies and his
So
objectives.
yeah, policies and objectives, and in lying. Jesus, how many lies he would have told. And the biggest lie was going to attack all these countries in the Middle East countries. Crazy. But I feel like, and I mean, one of the things I liked about Trump, and I feel, oh man, this whole but the freedom of look at UK, what's happening in the UK, for instance, right? If we look at how so much of problems, there's suppression in social media. People are getting jailed for posting stuff. That's not democracy. That's like, what do you
Sorry,
call,
what are they
authoritarian.
posting?
On Facebook, if they post against the government or something the government doesn't like, they can arrest you. So many people have been arrested. Twitter has been playing out a big rollout in fighting against them. And X, you mean? I mean, and then it's just the government is not taking any initiative, and there is a big migration crisis. But anyways, let's not get into the UK's problem. That's their problem. But I feel like right now, I feel like if the Democrats wants to get their shit together, they need to change this rhetoric. They need to change this cancel culture, and they need to find
Okay.
a new pathway.
So
I don't see that pathway in near future.
right.
Right now, what I feel like is that, as I always say, I'm center right, and I feel like right is winning, and I feel like 2028, this coming months will define the 2028 election. I feel like because how people ain't dumb to see that, okay, when George Floyd died, there was a big riot, a lot of things happened, right? Whether we can, there's bits and pieces of argument whether he was murdered by a state police, but still, it was it went crazy. But now people are watching and saying, oh, look, and there is no fake media now. It's all
Yeah.
podcasters. They're talking the truth, both sides. So we're gonna see a different change how this gets navigated throughout the next weeks and months
Yeah.
to come.
Like to go back to your point about the Democrats need to change their rhetoric, I think that's one of the criticisms of the Democrats that bothers me the most is that people give them too much credit. Like, I think most of this cancel culture, the harmful rhetoric on the left, is not coming from the Democratic Party. It's just coming from leftists generally. And I think the
The
left,
far,
the
or you
Democrats not
can you
having control
can you
over that
say
narrative is an issue.
the radical left lunatics? Come on, say that. This coming
I don't like
from
to call anyone a
radical
lunatic,
left lunatics.
I don't hate
What?
anyone. I don't like to call anyone a lunatic.
Come on. Okay, you can say radical left.
Yeah, there were radical left, sure. So
There you go.
and so I think the Democrats' inability to control those elements has been a problem because the Democratic Party, honestly, it's like it's not it's not what people think it is as radical communist. It's just they're too boring. The Democrats are just too ineffective. They're too boring. They have no
Who do you think could
vision.
be the new leader?
Yeah, they have no direction. They have no vision. They're weak. It's a weak party. Um, so I think people are giving them too much credit. And like they said, Biden was like a dictator. It's like you gave the guy way too much credit. Like,
Well, there's so much open signing.
but
You never know who was the president. So
anyways, yeah. So that's just kind of something I wanted to mention. I just kind of Sometimes it bothers me when I hear people say like the Democrats, but like who even are the Democrats now?
look at guys, a born center left talking to us and saying the Democratic Party has lost its way and they need to find soul searching. That's what a lot of people say. They need to
Well, I
find
think I think we
soul
need to find
searching.
more than two parties. I don't like a two-party system.
Oh, I don't like the two-party system, but there's no way. Maybe I was interested in Elon starting one. So let's see. Fingers crossed. But anyways, all right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And once again, if you are like everyone is been going through this difficult period, like whoever liked Charlie Kirk or listened to him, please do spread the message, or like whatever he wanted always to debate. So educate yourself, and like always Charlie says, have, if you can afford a family, get married. If you can get married, have kids, and start going towards your faith, any faith that you're following. So that's what I would, being taken, and be kind to each other. It's okay to disagree. That's what the world is about. It's not world is The world will not be fair. At the same time, it's always good to argue. It's always good to sit down with someone who you don't agree. Don't unfriend people, unfriend family. Like, don't stop talking to families. Don't stop family members. Don't divide more, because this is the time of unity. When God says, unite, have faith. Some people might not believe in God, but that's fine. But still unite in the core cause of building this country and making this country the better for the future generations to be born. And I'm telling this because I wasn't born here, but oh man, this is the greatest country that anyone can wish to be, and it will be. And you everyone has to be really really grateful that you are born here, and or people are moved out here. And make sure that have faith, and don't disagree. It's okay to disagree, but don't hate each other. So that's what my take. Chris, what do you got to say to your radical left? You got to say something. They're listening to you. You got to say something to your Massachusetts client base.
Okay, well, the first thing I would say is that honestly, people that represent the fringes are a minority. The majority of Americans, I think, ultimately, are rational and reasonable people. And at the end of the day, there is a lot more that unites Americans than divides us. So when people claim it to be like the right claims a monopoly on patriotism, I kind of bothers me because I mean people on the left can be very patriotic too, and then people on the left claim to have a a monopoly over democratic principles like you know freedom, whatever. Everyone claims to have something, but really we all have the same values mostly. We're like 90% in alignment. And I think there's a lot more that unites us as Americans than what divides us. And I think we should not let, you know, these on the grand scheme of things, these minor differences get in the way of our ultimate objective of living together, advancing together, being together, because we are the country. We make the country great. And if we're
As
divided,
we
the country's
say,
not great.
yeah, the we the people. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Pray for everything and hope you guys. Thanks for joining on Every Degree Matters. And sorry for the little bit of hassle that we couldn't upload the last week video. We had some technical issues. Well, my bad. I didn't. It just takes a lot of time to do certain things. And but it's the podcast was up last week, and this will go on I think in a couple of days. So thank you so much for joining, and please let us know on the comment section, and please like us, subscribe us, and share it with your friends if you like it. And until then, thank you so much. Join on Every Degree Matters every week. This is Saffran and Chris. Take care and bye bye.